Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of VENDO Velocity. We appreciate you tuning in on this Tuesday. I have some newbies on the podcast with me today, but before I go ahead and introduce them, I'd love to just give you a glimpse into what VENDO Velocity is if this is your first time joining us. So I'm Delaney Del Mundo, our host. I'm our Director of Amazon Account Strategy here at VENDO, and I also lead our TikTok Shop initiative. And VENDO Velocity is your weekly live podcast hosted by us at VENDO. And we go live to discuss all of the newest strategy and platform updates on Amazon, Walmart.com, and TikTok Shop. So excited to introduce the new people on this call today, Steph, and Chase Snider. It's been a while since I've been trying to recruit them here. So please leave all your positive comments and get them to come back and really feel welcome. But Steph, I'll start off with you. Just please give us a glimpse into what your role is at VENDO, how long you've been here, and what your day-to-day management looks like, and then we'll go on to Chase.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us here, Delaney. I've been with VENDO for a little over a year and a half now. I'm one of the more senior members here. I've mainly focused on Walmart.com sponsored ads, but specifically more into the display side is where I'm leaning into my expertise more than anything. So I really manage PPC and the display side. Chase?
Yeah, I've been at VENDO about a year now. I actually started on the Amazon side, learning DSP with them, and then I switched over to Walmart in December, so about 6 months ago, when we partnered with the trade desk, and have been doing Walmart's DSP for about 6 months now, and then growing that side of the business. So I focus basically just on DSP display with Walmart.
Perfect. So if you didn't see the topic for today, it is Walmart Onsite and Offsite display. So no other no better people than both Steph and Chase to be on the podcast with me today to go through just what the differences are, some of our best strategies for optimizing both on-site and off-site display, and just what capabilities and audiences look like for display specifically. So Steph, let's start off with you. Can you explain the key differences between Walmart's on-site and off-site display advertising options?
Yeah, absolutely. So with on-site and off-site, obviously one is on-site directly on Walmart.com, whereas off-site, Walmart utilizes their first-party data for both, but specifically with the off-site to really target audiences to come back to Walmart and bring them to the website there overall.
Got it. That's perfect. And then Chase, what about what are some of the unique advantages of using Walmart's off-site display specifically compared to maybe some other platforms?
Yeah, the success we've seen in the last 6 months is how impactful it's been within in-store purchases. So our sales number of in-store has gone up significantly in the last 6 months, I think due to DSP, where off-site DSP, so if you're on weather.com, foxnews.com, you're getting that ad for that brand, and it's driving you back to Walmart. So it's just creating more awareness. It's also creating more awareness for in-store as well. And we're able to customize a lot of different things we can get into later that help with that awareness.
And then, Chase, can you go a little bit into just Walmart's attribution model overall? I think compared to Amazon specifically, you have that unique piece in which there is that in-store piece. So how is attribution tracked both online and in-store or even off-site?
Yeah, so we are able to track all purchases from in-store, from pickup, delivery, and then obviously online as well. And the cool thing about that is when sharing with the brand, breaking down those three, how clear it is to how big e-commerce on offsite helps in-store purchasing. So that's why that's so valuable, is being able to break those down to see, I know we're doing offsite, but the in-store purchase has gone so way up in the past few months, and how impactful that could be.
Got it. Okay, perfect. And then we'll expand a little bit about our relationship with the trade desk in a second here. But Steph, if you could just dive a little bit into how self-serve display works for advertisers on Walmart's platform, and just give us a few of those specifics. as far as the tactical piece of that, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So Walmart typically runs a display campaign for about 3 months, and there is about a minimum of 100K for those 3 months. With display self-serve, specifically, there are no minimums. You can run the campaign for however long as you'd like with whatever budget you would like as well. So overall, you have the ability to target wherever you see with audiences for as long as those capabilities are. So if you want to go seasonally, or if you want to promote a specific item that's newer to your item set, then you can absolutely do that as well.
Got it. Perfect. And I know that we've talked a little bit on this podcast about how we have a seat for a DSP seat on the Amazon side, but we also have a seat at the trade desk. So Chase, can you dive into what exactly does that mean, and what is the main benefit for advertisers that they are working with Vendo who does have a seat?
Yeah, so the Trade Desk is one of the biggest DSP/programmatic companies that we have. And so the benefits of that is, for example, we're launching a CTV campaign here in the next couple of weeks, which means connected TV. So we're able to utilize all of the Trade Desk partners' inventory to broaden our capabilities to share on the Trade Desk. Steph mentioned this earlier, another big benefit is we can take all of Walmart's 1P data and do customizable audiences based on that specific brand. So, if you have a supplement brand, you can get very granular and specific on, in market for different audiences that are looking for that. So you're not just going after certain people that have bought your product or viewed your product. You can actually go after people that are looking at electrolytes or have bought any electrolytes of any brand. So they have a very customizable platform that we can use to help with brands, which makes that seat at the Trade Desk very unique and very important.
And then, Steph, you were saying that also removes the minimums. Is that correct? Whereas typically you'd have those minimums. Is it the seat specifically that removes those minimums, or the partnership with the Trade Desk? Can you dive into that a little bit more?
It's just mainly just because it's self-serve. So yeah, because the fact that WMC is not managing it at all, having that seat specifically for DSP removes that. However, with WMC, we do utilize their platform and whatnot, but it's just being either the brand is managing the self-serve on their own, or whether we as the agency are managing for them. That's what removes the minimum, just because we're utilizing our own tactics and building out the creatives and the audiences and the structure of the campaign overall.
Super helpful. Okay, cool. And then I do want to dive a little bit into what the perks are of collaborating with Vendo specifically versus WMC. I know you've both talked on it a little bit here, but what are some of those key benefits? And let's actually take a step back. Steph, if you could just discuss WMC in general. I think Walmart Connect, sometimes that even the thought of Walmart Connect rubs people the wrong way. I'm sure if anyone's tried to sell on Walmart.com, they've probably had conversations with Walmart Connect in which they were pitching very, very high price initiatives that maybe from a ROAS standpoint didn't make sense for your brand to be running. But what is Walmart Connect, and what are some best practices for partnering with them? And then I'll turn to Chase and we could talk about what are some of the main benefits of collaborating with Vendo specifically.
So Walmart Connect runs all of sponsored ads, display, and DSP through Walmart itself, utilizing their algorithm, their data, and whatnot. You typically come full force with the full team, from a partner manager to an account manager to an account strategist and whatnot, and they all collaborate together to help brands grow their business. However, with that, they see more dollars and ROAS and more spend that way. Whereas on Vendo, we like to do a crawl, walk, run approach more than anything else to actually better the brand's efficiency and to making sure that we're targeting the specific way to reach target KPIs rather than spending just to spend, for lack of better words.
Got it. So then even outside of the 100K requirement specifically, Chase, can you elaborate on some of those key benefits? I know Steph talked about crawl, walk, run. Is that what you said, Steph? So yes. How exactly do we implement some of those strategies, or can you go into any case study specifically where we can showcase the advantages of working with Vendo over, let's say, a WMC for our advertising campaign?
Yeah, so a couple of things I've already mentioned, but one big strategy we do, at least on the DSP Vendo, is basically a bottom to top funnel approach. So with building out our campaigns, we'll typically build out 2 separate campaigns, a conversion and consideration. Where I mentioned on the trade desk earlier how specific you can get with those audiences based on the brand. So conversion typically meaning lower funnel audiences. So we can specifically go and target people that have viewed a certain product in the last 7 days and not bought it, or purchased in the last 90 days, but not in the last 30 days, and put that creative back on there. And then we can also, we also have consideration, which is, like I talked about earlier, those broad audiences that we can customize as well. So it's very self-serve. We're on it, every day. We get reporting every 2 weeks. It's very on hands, on keyboard, editing, attribution, so where nothing goes unnoticed. And then we also have the ability to change things every 2 weeks. We could change things quicker than that, but that's typically how we do it. And then we've seen, you asked for a case study. We started with the brand back in January. So about 5 months of offsite DSP. We're looking at about a $13 to $14 ROAS total through those 5 months right now. So that's been really cool to see. And as I mentioned earlier, their in-store purchases have gone way up from that DSP attribution. So that was really cool to see from 5 months ago to now, averaging about a $13 ROAS.
Yeah, that is nuts. Does that include in-store sales in that ROAS, or how is that being calculated?
Yeah, it includes all of them. So it includes in-store, delivery, pickup, online as well.
Got it. And then, so Steph, Chase talked a little bit about the creative specifically. So can you go into what sorts of capabilities do advertisers have specifically when it comes to the creative? Like, I know for Amazon, we have REC creatives, and there's a few more enhanced creatives beyond just some of your more typical ones that you can implement through the DSP. So what does the creative ability look like there?
Creative for DSS, really, realistically, it's just a great placement overall for those creatives. What I really love about DSS is it's kind of your wow factor. It's kind of inspiring the customer to click on it. Your standard sponsored ad, you have your hero image and whatnot, but it really doesn't make a statement at all to who the brand is. It gives DSS creatives, in DSP creatives for that matter, really give an identity overall to the brand to really influence the customer to go ahead and click on that creative to lead you towards that PDP or the brand shop overall. Especially with us, with our tactics, we do typically lead to the brand shop just so you see the variety of items that we are selling on Walmart.com. And so that way we can hopefully go ahead and convert at that capacity.
Got it. And then the question for both of you, I think when brands are thinking about their media mix, and maybe they're new to Walmart.com and they've run primarily on Amazon, but they're really trying to understand, okay, between the different ad types, how am I really splitting my budget the most effectively? So I think the number one thing that people might eliminate from their advertising strategy early on are some of the tactics you guys are talking about today, DSS and DSP for that matter. So can you guys both speak about, like, if a brand is more hesitant to implement some sort of budget towards these different ad types, then what would be your recommendation as far as starting out? Like, are there any sort of minimum budget requirements? I know you said that there weren't tactically, but as far as your recommendations go, is there anything where you're like, let's start with this first, let's see how it performs, and then this is how we'll really know if there's proof of concept? Chase, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think Steph and I would give the same answer, but I think what we've seen so far is the brands that, like Steph said earlier, we want to crawl, walk, run, right? So if we have a PPC and then we do a display, either that's on-site or off-site, and then we add the third, you can definitely have too many ads, but if the good thing about Vendo is all three of us are specialists in that category, right? So us three work together on strategizing when a customer sees, which ads, which audiences to see. So Steph, you can elaborate on that a little bit, but.
Yeah, absolutely. So my recommendation going in, whether it's DSS or DSP, especially with that crawl, walk, run mentality, I would probably predict anywhere between a 3K to a 5K minimum budget to begin with, just because we are predominantly going to target that lower funnel and then gradually move up to the upper funnel. And it really depends on what the brand is looking for. If it is a new to brand to Walmart overall, I would go ahead and suggest DSP just to draw the customer and let them know that, hey, we are here on Walmart, to draw them to Walmart overall. However, if it were just promoting like a newer item and whatnot, then I would go ahead and suggest doing DSS, just like, oh, hey, we're the brand, we've got a new item, let's go ahead and attract this particular item for whether it's seasonal for Christmas or if it's floats for summer. Or anything idealistically for like a graduation gift or Mother's Day or things of that sort. And that's also a great thing about DSS and DSP, because it also doesn't have to be a month-long campaign. If it's just a strategy that you want to utilize for like a couple weeks leading up to an event as well overall. So minimum budgets don't really exist. So it's whatever the brand really wants to test more than anything.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Steph, in that like this doesn't have to be an always-on strategy, right? And I think that especially if you are more hesitant to implement it from the jump, then maybe understand when it makes sense seasonally and when you'd expect one, higher traffic, another higher repeat customer base that's coming into your brand, or maybe someone who has just interacted with your brand and there's a large pool of customers who haven't previously interacted with your brand, and now you have the ability to retarget them specifically. So no, that's a great point there. And the last question for you guys, I'm really just wondering, I think there's a lot of talk on Amazon with AMC or Amazon Marketing Cloud. And I think one of the bigger things that the data shows through Amazon Marketing Cloud is that if you're running sponsored brands, sponsored products, and DSP all at the same time, then collectively there's a much higher brand lift. For Walmart, are you guys starting to see any sort of advancement in reporting, whether it's similar to Amazon? We know that oftentimes they do catch up in that, but like how enhanced is the reporting that you're able to see on your guys' side to track the customer journey? Or what sorts of metrics are you guys looking at more closely in addition to ROAS? Maybe Steph, you could take that one.
For us, unfortunately, reporting is fairly limited, as this is a newer programmatic item to Walmart overall. However, looking at KPIs and whatnot, we really are looking at conversion and CPMs and new to brand customers and where that's lying there. Again, Chase has mentioned a lot about store attribution and how that is affecting us overall. And we're seeing that kind of halo effect because of DSS and DSP as well, winning those additional placements, because with DSS and DSP, it's not just viewing through a desktop. You can also view it through mobile and you can view it through app. And so whether the customer is actually present in store and then sees the item and says, oh, okay, it's down this aisle, and then they go to purchase, that's going to be attributed to our DSS or DSP as well overall.
That's awesome. In the creatives, Chase, are you able to call out, like, I guess it's a different aisle in every store, but I'm curious, like, how precise some of that geo-targeting is, considering that one of the biggest stats I've always heard from Walmart is what, like 90% of the country lives like super close to a Walmart store. I forgot the exact stat, but how much like specific in-store targeting is there to your geolocation?
Yeah, it can be very specific. We can get down basically to the zip code. Wow. So, if a brand has, if they're in 600 stores, we'll take those 600 zip codes and just geo-target to those people. So we're not wasting spend, on if they don't have any stores in Florida, we'll take Florida out, and we'll just geo-target to those stores. So it could get very specific. We could do it by city, we could do it by zip code, which helps a lot when, especially brands aren't in every store, to really narrow down, because we do see that. I mean, obviously the in-store purchase with DSP is the highest. So that's very valuable when it comes to that geo-targeting.
That's awesome. All right, perfect. Well, really appreciate both of you guys joining today. I think this was a super insightful podcast, and I'm sure, as Steph said, as we continue to see the evolution of both on-site and off-site display, then I will take you guys up on offering to come back, even though they didn't offer to come back. I'm sure they will after this podcast. But really appreciate the time, guys, and we'll talk to you both soon.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Sounds
Bye, guys.
good.
Thanks, everyone.